Hey everyone, today I've got your Avengers Infinity War spoiler review. I just wanted to make sure I had all of my thoughts collected since seeing it for the second time, and I hope to see it plenty more times after this. After seeing it for the second time, my score has not changed, and even though I did enjoy it the second time, I still hold on to my opinions that I did the first time, and now there is just so much more to talk about, so many things I want to get through. If you want to watch my whole video or check out different topics, they're all in the description. First off, I'd like to say that there were a lot of characters in this movie, and actually maybe a little bit less than I had originally said, but there definitely were a lot of characters that were in the background but maybe not mentioned by name. However, there are some that weren't exactly here, and one of whom was Hawkeye, and I am not sure why he wasn't in this movie as compared to everyone else that they featured here, but hopefully we get a chance to see him in the next Avengers movie, because this was technically part 1 and I had completely forgotten that they were making an Avengers 4, and I thought that was going to be completely unrelated. So who knows what the title of that movie is going to be called. So we'll see if we hear any more news about it come this summer for San Diego Comic-Con or any other thing. But I had no idea where the heck Hawkeye was, and whether he would have been a good asset in this movie, who knows, as compared to others. With this movie, when there is a war, there tends to be some casualties, and quite frankly, there were a few of them to mention, some that happened even right off the bat. So when the movie first starts and the tone is very dark, and I was literally half expecting this to happen, and you could tell even when you didn't think it was going to happen, it was going to happen. The first death to mention was Heimdall, because when Thanos goes to Asgard and he's taken everybody out who was there, Heimdall, Idris Elba, played him, and it was really sad that he died. But then I'm thinking, because he was the first to go, it's kind of like Marvel's way of saying, oh, we're just gonna take out the little guys first and then possibly go for the big guns. Like, Loki was also there with Heimdall, and he got taken out. And I was really shocked by this, because I've been a fan of Tom Hiddleston's portrayal as Loki, and I've loved seeing him in all of the previous Thor movies and some of the Avengers movies. And this one was probably a really sad death, but I didn't exactly cry, and that's disappointing to me, because I thought I was going to be like super upset by it. But then again, I hope to see him more in the future, and if not, I think he's had a great run as this character. And even with a villainous character who was also featured in that scene later on in the film, Ebony is one of the bad guys that works for Thanos, and the way he died, I was like really shocked, because it reminded me of other types of movies that Disney has distributed, like the latest Star Wars movie where somebody gets sucked out. And of course, with this movie, and Chris Pratt comes up with all these different movie references. Peter Parker comes up with references like the aliens getting sucked out into space scenario, and that's literally what happened to Ebony Maw. So I was like, really, that's the best you can do? I guess it's the end of him. Or Vision died, and that was also very sad as well. Gamora, who we got to see a little bit of a backstory towards, because, she wasn't actually Thanos' daughter. He took her in as a child and basically killed all of her people, and now he's sacrificing her just to get one of the Infinity Stones. And I mean, that was just so crazy, because she was like kind of against him after the fact, but then like it didn't seem like he had any sympathy towards his actions, but yet he did. But it still didn't justify what he had done later on in the film. But then, that's kind of the same question I had later on towards the end of the film, where there could have been potential deaths? Question mark? I am not sure why people are exactly upset by it, but I was definitely upset by the end of it because the music's playing, it's all very emotional and dramatic, when all of these characters, after that big huge battle in Wakanda, everybody is being erased from existence right after Thanos snaps his fingers, and the universe is basically crumbling, or it's going total Back to the Future style. Literally every character, not all of them, but some to mention, Black Panther goes after he just had a really awesome movie, which, by the way, I gave a perfect score to. So I was really confused as to why he left, but then Bucky left, and Teenage Groot left, Scarlet Witch left, and Falcon, Mantis, Drax, Star-Lord, Doctor Strange, and I think one of the saddest sort of disappearances were from Peter Parker. I mean, Tom Holland, he improvised that whole scene, and it literally brought me to tears because of how emotional it was. And he was telling Tony Stark, "No, I don't want to go, Mr. Stark." It was just, it was so sad. Bruce Banner, aka the Hulk, who ends up losing his Hulk mojo, and after getting in a fight with Thanos, he loses the ability to morph into the big green guy. And I think that was one of the criticisms of my first review, was that he was very underused in this movie, and literally so. I was hoping to see more of him, but then he ended up going into the Hulkbuster suit that was featured in Age of Ultron, if I'm not mistaken. And then, like, literally, what else is he possibly doing in this movie except just looking really weird in that suit, even though I would have preferred to see him as the Hulk, and maybe he would have had a better chance against Thanos, but I don't know who else could possibly have a better chance. And you've got Scarlet Witch, who apparently is losing her accent, and I don't know if it's because she's not located where she normally was, or Elizabeth Olsen decided to just forego the accent, like, who really cares? But then obviously we see what happens to her character later on in the film. It was also very weird when Drax the Destroyer became Drax the Comedian, and I know I feel like even throughout the previous Guardians of the Galaxy films, he seemed to be this comic relief, even though he was muscle as well. But I feel like here, Dave Bautista was just, it was way too funny for his type of character, and I feel like that just, it kind of put me off, and it felt very out of place. Even though I did like sort of the slight lack of comedy that was just not as corny as previous Marvel movies have been, and I've been highly critical of that. But when you have characters that are being underused, like Hulk, or being misused, like Drax, you've also got Peter Dinklage, who plays a minor role in this film as this dwarf from, Thor's place. He meets up with Thor so that he can help him forge a new axe, because in Thor Ragnarok, Hela destroyed Thor's hammer, and so now he gets this axe, and it's powerful, and you think that, something's gonna happen to Thor, but yet I was really glad that nothing happened to him then. I was really worried for him for a second. And then you've also got Doctor Strange, who has a few crazy scenes going on, whether he's multiplying himself or he sees the future, which could have had the potential for the reason why they're making an Avengers 4. So we saw that possible outcome, which is what led to the events of this movie. And he said there's a 1 in 14 million plus chance of winning this fight against Thanos and defeating him. I think that after that moment happened, Star-Lord had the perfect opportunity, not once, but 2 times, to take out Thanos, whether or not Gamora was with him, because, he likes her, and after she disappeared, he just, you know, acted like his normal Star-Lord self, and I was kind of hoping that he would have been a little bit more heroic than what he was, instead of sort of being all full of himself and actually wanting to help out more. And he just, I felt like didn't do as good of a job as that. But then when we do see Thanos going off with Gamora, you meet, it was really unexpected. Like, I was shocked, and at first when I heard the voice, I was like, wait a minute, that sounds just like Red Skull, who was originally played by Hugo Weaving in Captain America the First Avenger, which I actually loved that movie when that came out. Maybe not so much anymore as compared to other Captain America movies, but this one definitely gave one of the most interesting villains. However, I don't know if Red Skull was like truly there, or that was just his likeness. I don't know why he had the Soul Stone with him, and like it just felt like a really random moment. But then, I don't know, it was just really crazy to see the conversation that Red Skull and Thanos were having before Gamora ended up kicking the bucket. So, speaking of the Infinity Stones, and obviously to put together Thanos' gauntlet, he had quite a few Infinity Stones, and he actually already acquired a couple of them previously, and now he had to collect the remainder of the stones throughout this movie. Speaking of the Soul Stone, that was definitely used the most, or at least mentioned a lot throughout this movie. And then there were other ones like the Time Stone, I think it's called, and then the Mind Stone also was used in the one that was on Vision, and that whole thing happened last, and that's what led up to everything else. And you have to protect Vision. I really wanted to protect Vision so badly, so I was totally with Letitia Wright's character, like trying to make sure that something is gonna be done right on Wakanda. And yeah, I just think this movie overall still, like I said, had its flaws and things that sort of felt very random and out of place, and maybe just there for shock value. But I will definitely talk more about this movie and the Marvel Universe in general. I'm actually making a podcast that's coming out soon, so hopefully you guys have gotten a chance to see Infinity War, and so you guys can also join in on that podcast as well. I can't wait to see what else is going to happen with the future of the Marvel films, because we got post-credit scenes that featured Nick Fury, and even introducing Brie Larson's Captain Marvel. I just can't wait to see what else is in store with these characters, and even the recent release of the Ant-Man and the Wasp trailer. So we'll see how this all sort of changes the game of Marvel as a whole. So let me know in the comments what you guys thought of Avengers Infinity War, and if I missed anything, what else did you guys notice about this movie, and are you looking forward to seeing part 2 of Avengers and any other Marvel films out there? And as always, you guys can subscribe to my channel. I've got more movie reviews, movie updates, coming every week for a Child Thursday video. You guys can also like me on Facebook and follow me on Twitter, and I will see you guys later.